So earlier in today's show, we had spoken about the Patrik Allvin press conference, and I will still stand by what I had said in that previous video. Allvin didn't say anything. Like, there was nothing new that we had learned from his press conference. He just kind of said the same points about the Canucks that we had been talking about for most of the year already, how they can be good and this and that. I guess it was illuminating to some that Patrik Allvin was okay with the low-event, low-shot hockey as long as it wins the Canucks games. That was a pretty interesting thing that he said, that I know some fans were pretty disappointed by. But then there were some other comments about players on the team and, how guys are being able to block out the noise and still play and show up and how the team has been injured. It's all the same stuff. There wasn't anything new, particularly from Patrik Allvin, but there was an interesting comment that he did make about one pending UFA forward Brock Boeser. This is what he said. "We are still evaluating Brock. When the time is right, we'll make the decision." The decision, as in, okay, are they going to keep him, re-sign him, or are they going to trade him, or whatever? There was acknowledgement from the media scrum, the interviewers. They asked, hey, Boeser loves it here in Vancouver, so what's the situation over there? And it's interesting because Allvin actually did have a good laugh upon hearing, Boeser loves it here in Vancouver, he wants to stay. But anyways, we're diving into another comment made on Donnie and Dolly from this morning. According to D&D, the Columbus Blue Jackets may be a team to monitor if the Canucks determine that an agreement with Boeser is not possible and they consider trading the pending UFA. The Blue Jackets appear to have a high regard for the player and have the cap room and assets to make an attractive pitch for his services on the trade market. So, the Columbus Blue Jackets would apparently be interested in Brock Boeser. Interesting. Now, Brock, this season, is on pace for a pretty steep-ish decline. Not the steepest in the world, but kind of steep decline. From 73 points and 40 goals last year, he is on pace for 56 points and 30 goals this year, albeit with 7 fewer games played. Interestingly enough, though, Boeser and his production this year is more in line with what he had been doing before he had his 40-goal year last season. Brock going over to a team like Columbus would be an interesting fit because when I think about the Blue Jackets, I think of a team that has obviously gone through a lot of changes. And it's not just with the very tragic incident we had seen last summer, but it's also with some of the trades they had made. They traded away Patrik Laine. They now have some new guys manning the top of their lineup. And when you think about the guys that are supposed to be number 1, top 6 players on this team, it's a very interesting group of guys. Kirill Marchenko and Dmitry Voronkov have been fantastic. Sean Monahan was really, really good, although he did unfortunately get injured. And then you have Zach Werenski on the back end, who I do think is like the rival to Quinn Hughes this season when talking about the 2025 Norris Trophy. Screw Cale Makar. I think it's Zach Werenski. I think it's Werenski, Hughes, 1 and 2, 2 and 1. You could debate the order, but I think Makar is a clear number 3 this year compared to those other guys. But this Blue Jackets team is in a spot where they've been playing a lot more inspired hockey, and as of late, they've been scoring a hell of a lot of goals. I get it, they got shut out 2 days ago against the New York Rangers, but they do play off against the New York Islanders later today, so we'll see if they're able to get back to their scoring ways. Brock Boeser, though, as a guy that the Blue Jackets could offer some money to, hey, it would definitely work out. Head over to the Puckpedia page for CBJ, and you'll figure out that right now, at this very moment, they have the most cap space in the league out of any team. They've got $18 million in projected cap space and $40 million in current cap space. That's ridiculous. Brock Boeser could ask for $9 million, and the Blue Jackets could give it to him. Of course, though, they probably would not want to wait until free agency to get this done. They would probably hope the Canucks make a decision before the deadline, and then Vancouver says, okay, we don't really think we can re-sign him. We're just going to trade him because we don't want to lose him out for nothing. Here you go, CBJ. Take it on. It's BB6. And I think when it comes to Columbus, they do have some of the more attractive pieces that the Vancouver Canucks could be interested in. Obviously, if you wanted to aim high, Adam Fantilli is a top-of-the-line player that I think they would definitely not want to trade away in any sort of a move. Never mind for Boeser, even for a guy like Miller or... Okay, maybe if it was for Pettersson? Who knows? But Fantilli aside, if there is a Kent Johnson in the mix, if there is another defenseman, I'm not saying that Zach Werenski is going to get moved, but if anybody else, like a Damon Severson, for example, with salary retained is in there, I would be interested in that. Denton Matejchuk, I like him. Dante Fabro was moved around earlier too. They've got Eric Goodbranson under IR. He's a pretty interesting player. Okay, that was kind of a joke. Ivan Provorov is also on this Blue Jackets decor, and his contract is expiring at the end of the year, so he is more of a pending UFA, Brock Boeser adjacent asset. If it's like a Kirill Marchenko or a Voronkov, I would actually be super on board with that. I've been really, really happy with how these guys have played, and not just because they've been dominant for my fantasy team. Marchenko especially has been one of the best underrated players in the entire gosh darn league. Who would have known he would have been a first-line caliber player? Marchenko is on pace for 87 points this year. It's ridiculous, man. These Columbus guys just can't stop scoring. If you find a way to swap around a Boeser for a Marchenko, because Marchenko is signed on till the end of 2027, making $3.8 million, that is a huge win for the Vancouver Canucks. And it's such a big win that I don't think the Blue Jackets would even think about making that kind of a trade go through. They would probably be more willing to trade away a Voronkov or something if you wanted to force it, or just really focus on a defenseman. Who really knows? Brock Boeser is a pending UFA, so his value definitely is a little bit reduced, but if you are a team that's in that wild card hunt, or you're in the playoff picture already and you want that extra oomph, that scoring touch to bolster up your chances in the playoffs, Brock Boeser is a very good complementary piece. You need to play him with good players in order for him to be his best, but if you put him in the right spots, he can be effective. Last year, in the playoffs, he had scored 12 points in 12 games played, 7 goals, including one of the most important hat tricks the Vancouver Canucks had seen in their entire playoff history, that huge comeback victory in game number 4 against the Nashville Predators to seal the deal and give the Canucks a 3-1 series lead. It was incredible seeing what they were able to do and what Brock was able to do at the end of that game to seal things up. Boeser with Monahan would be an interesting idea, just having these two former Western Canadian rivals playing off with each other. And for Blue Jackets hockey specifically, I do think there's a lot to value out of the story of Brock Boeser. We know the trials and tribulations that he has had to go through, and it makes him all the more likable person because of it. So, Blue Jackets fans, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of your team potentially going after Brock Boeser should the Vancouver Canucks and Patrick Alfine decide that he is not a fit for this team in Vancouver long term? What are your thoughts about the potential return? Do you think a Marchenko-like asset could be included, or probably not? Maybe a Voronkov, maybe a Severson, maybe a Provorov, maybe a Fabro. Of course, all of these guys are varying in terms of their value. You can't just say, oh, we'll do Fabro instead of Marchenko. Like, that's not equal at all. But thoughts in the comment section either way. If you're a Jackets fan or a Canucks fan, what are your thoughts on the idea of a Boeser trade over to CBJ? I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.